I was talking about digital storytelling, and I used 3 examples of online digital storytelling. The first was something that had been created by an advertiser, quite a big budget reenactment of the Apollo 11 moon landing. The second was an example of spontaneously people on Twitter coming together to tell a story. And the third was a little game that's been developed for the Apple Watch and for the iOS, an interactive story which is told entirely in text messages. The first thing I wanted to say was that online storytelling doesn't have to be huge and expensive. So if you look at Twitter, Twitter is a wonderful medium for telling stories because of the constraints, because of the discipline, but also because people willingly come together to interact and chat and create narratives like the one that I used. The Waterstones Texan, there was an American who was locked in a Waterstones bookstore, and people spontaneously joined in the story. He tweeted that he was locked inside, and everybody started telling the story about what he was doing in there, and even after he got out, people were still kind of speculating on what he'd been reading. It's actually a very entertaining story. I also wanted to say that you can now invite the audience into your story. So storytelling isn't one way necessarily anymore. You actually can invite the audience in. So the little game, you co-create the story with the brand. And I just wanted to say, I started off with a quote from Stefan Sagmeister, who said this notion about creative people being storytellers is rubbish, but I think that there are powerful stories being created. The authority of storytelling has been radically decentralized. So if you aren't at least trying to create a great narrative, it's likely that your audience will do it for you. Digital can be quite lifeless. I think that technology can be quite cold, and if you're doing, there's a tendency online to just fill out the spaces in the media plan, and actually I'd rather there was some thinking about how do we make this thing come alive. A couple of years ago they reenacted the sinking of the Titanic entirely on Twitter. There was no film content, there was nothing, it was simply tweets, and it was so gripping because there were the tweets from all the passengers and from the captain, and very low-fi, low-tech, but there was a sense of narrative, and there was a narrative arc, and there was suspense. And you need to apply that thinking to online advertising because it rolls out in time, and instead of just mindlessly filling out the blanks in the digital media plan, think about how the story unfolds and how you can pull people into it.